If you've ever found yourself scrolling through old photos late at night or rerunning conversations from months ago while you're trying to sleep, you're not alone. Why can't I stop thinking about my ex is a question that echoes through bedrooms and quiet moments everywhere. The answer doesn't lie in your heart's romantic whims. It lives in the biology of your brain's attachment system, specifically in a little structure called the hippocampus, which acts like a memory librarian, and the amygdala, your brain's alarm center. Researchers from University College London, led by Sam Gilbert, found that emotionally charged memories, especially those tied to attachment, get tagged with a special priority flag by the amygdala, making them easier for the hippocampus to retrieve. It's not you being dramatic, it's neuroscience. What happens is your brain gets caught in what neuroscientists call a rumination loop. The prefrontal cortex, that's your thinking, planning part, gets flooded with memories, then sends them to the emotional centers for processing, which sends them back with more emotional weight. It's like handing a heavy package back and forth between two departments that can't decide what to do with it. Ethan Cross at the University of Michigan calls this emotionally sticky thinking. The thoughts have glue on them, and your attention keeps getting stuck. You're not choosing this. It's a neurological loop your brain defaults to when it feels unresolved attachment. There's also a chemical side to this. Your brain releases dopamine, that's the seeking neurotransmitter, when you anticipate a reward or connection. During a relationship, your brain learned to associate your ex with dopamine hits. Even after the relationship ends, your neural pathways still light up with that anticipation when you think of them. It's like a path worn through a forest. Your brain's feet know exactly where to walk, even if the destination isn't there anymore. Research from the National Institute of Mental Health shows these dopamine pathways can remain active for months, creating what they call anticipatory neural firing patterns. Let's talk about what's happening underneath those thoughts. The feelings you're having, loneliness, sadness, maybe anger or confusion, they're not random. They're messengers. They're pointing toward needs that aren't being met right now. Connection, security, understanding, maybe meaning or intimacy. Nonviolent communication teaches us that feelings always point toward needs. And when we can identify those needs, the feelings start to make sense. You're not broken for missing someone. You're human with human needs for connection. That ache isn't pathology. It's your system telling you something important about what matters to you. Here's something fascinating about memory and the passage of time. Your brain doesn't actually store memories like files in a cabinet. It reconstructs them each time you remember. And each time you remember, you can actually alter the memory slightly. This is called reconsolidation theory, pioneered by neuroscientist Karim Nader. Every time you revisit that painful memory or happy moment, you're not just watching a recording, you're actively editing it. The emotional tone, the details you focus on, these can shift. This means you have more agency over these memories than you might realize. Your nervous system plays a huge role here too. When you think about your ex, especially if the relationship had conflict or intensity, your body might react as if the threat or opportunity is present right now. Your vagus nerve, that long nerve that connects your brain to your gut, heart, and lungs, might trigger fight or flight responses. Your shoulders tense, your breath shallow, your heart rate changes. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory explains how our social engagement system gets wired to specific people, and when that connection is disrupted, our nervous system goes into a kind of search mode. You're not overreacting. Your body is literally scanning for safety. So what can you actually do with these thoughts when they come? First, acknowledge them without judgment. Kristin Neff's research on self-compassion at the University of Texas shows that simply saying, "This is hard right now," to yourself activates different neural pathways than self-criticism does. It moves activity from the amygdala, the alarm center, to the prefrontal cortex, where you can actually think about the thoughts rather than just react to them. There's actually a quiet, beautiful game built around this exact idea of observing feelings without judgment, a 3D sanctuary called Inner Phoenix, but more on that in a minute. Let's keep going first. Next, try what psychologists call cognitive diffusion, separating yourself from the thoughts. Instead of, "I'm thinking about my ex again," try, "I'm noticing thoughts about my ex." That tiny shift in language creates psychological distance. Research from the Contextual Behavioral Science Lab shows this simple reframe can reduce the emotional impact of repetitive thoughts by up to 40%. It tells your brain these thoughts are visitors, not residents. They come, they might stay a while, but they don't have to define your entire mental landscape. Grounding techniques work because they engage your senses and bring you back to the present moment. The 5-4-3-2-1 method, naming 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste, isn't just distraction. It activates your somatosensory cortex, the part of your brain that processes bodily sensations, which pulls attention away from the memory centers. Studies from the Trauma Research Foundation show this can interrupt rumination loops within minutes. Your brain can't fully engage in memory retrieval and sensory processing at the same intensity. Expressive writing has remarkable power here. James Pennebaker's research at the University of Texas shows that writing about emotional experiences for just 15 minutes a day, 3 to 4 days in a row, can significantly reduce intrusive thoughts. The key isn't to write a story with a beginning, middle, and end, but to explore your feelings and thoughts without editing. This process seems to help your brain organize and file the experience, moving it from active processing to integrated memory. It's like giving your brain a designated place to put these thoughts so they don't keep popping up everywhere. Physical movement changes your brain chemistry in ways that directly counter rumination. Aerobic exercise increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BF, which helps create new neural pathways. It's like paving new roads in your brain so your thoughts don't automatically take the old familiar route to memories of your ex. Research from the Department of Psychiatry at Harvard Medical School shows that just 30 minutes of moderate exercise can reduce repetitive negative thinking for several hours afterward. You're not exercising to forget. You're exercising to give your brain new pathways. Sleep matters more than you might realize for this particular struggle. During REM sleep, your brain processes emotional memories, filing them away with less emotional charge. Matthew Walker's research at UC Berkeley's Sleep and Neuroimaging Lab shows that sleep deprivation specifically impairs this emotional memory processing, leaving memories raw and reactive. If you're losing sleep over these thoughts, you're creating a cycle where the thoughts disrupt sleep, which makes the thoughts more persistent. Gentle sleep hygiene, dim lights, cool room, consistent bedtime isn't just self-care. It's neuroscience-based memory management. Social connection acts as a buffer against obsessive thinking. When you're isolated, your brain has fewer competing stimuli, so the thoughts about your ex get more airtime. Positive social interactions release oxytocin, which counters the stress hormones that often accompany rumination. Research from the Ecole Social Neuroscience Lab shows that even brief, positive social exchanges can reduce cortisol levels and intrusive thoughts. This doesn't mean you need to date someone new immediately. It means reaching out to friends, joining a group activity, or even having warm exchanges with strangers gives your brain other pathways to focus on. Mindfulness meditation literally changes your brain structure in ways that help with this exact issue. Studies from Harvard's Massachusetts General Hospital using MRI scans show that 8 weeks of regular mindfulness practice thickens the prefrontal cortex. That's your thinking, planning center, and shrinks the amygdala, your alarm center. This means you become better at observing thoughts without getting swept away by them. You're not trying to stop the thoughts. You're changing your relationship to them. The thoughts may still come, but they don't hijack your entire system. There's a concept in psychology called post-traumatic growth, the idea that after difficult experiences, we can actually develop new strengths, perspectives, and capacities. Richard Tedeschi's research at the University of North Carolina shows that people who work through heartbreak often develop greater empathy, clearer values, and deeper appreciation for connection. This isn't about finding a silver lining too soon. It's about recognizing that the struggle itself can reshape you in meaningful ways. The thoughts about your ex might gradually transform from painful reminders to evidence of your capacity to care deeply. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity, the ability to rewire itself based on experience. Every time you redirect your attention from thoughts about your ex to something in the present moment, you're strengthening new neural pathways. Michael Merzenig's pioneering work at UCF showed that focused attention literally changes brain structure. This means each small effort adds up. You're not failing when the thoughts return. You're getting more reps at building new mental habits. The old pathway might still exist, but new ones become stronger with use. Time does help, but not in the passive way we often imagine. It's not that time heals all wounds. It's that over time you accumulate experiences that aren't about your ex new memories, new connections, new challenges. These dilute the concentration of memories related to one person. Research from the Max Planck Institute for Human Development shows that memory consolidation naturally weakens emotional associations over months as new experiences layer on top. You're not waiting for time to fix you. You're giving your brain new material to work with. Sometimes the thoughts persist because there's unfinished business, things left unsaid, questions unanswered. In these cases, writing a letter you never send can be surprisingly effective. Joshua Smith's research at Penn State University shows that expressive writing about unresolved issues reduces intrusive thoughts more effectively than writing about resolved ones. The letter isn't for them, it's for you to externalize what's circling internally. You get to say everything you need to say without worrying about their reaction or reopening communication. Compassion, both for yourself and for your ex, changes the emotional quality of these memories. Helen Wang's research at the University of Wisconsin-Madison shows that compassion meditation reduces activity in brain regions associated with negative emotional processing. When you wish your ex well, even if you never say it aloud, you're not condoning hurtful behavior. You're freeing your own nervous system from the tension of resentment or longing. This might feel counterintuitive, but neuroscience shows it reduces the emotional charge of memories. There's a difference between remembering and ruminating. Remembering is bringing a memory to mind, noticing it, maybe feeling the feelings that come with it, then letting it go. Ruminating is getting stuck in the memory, analyzing it from every angle, trying to solve what can't be solved now. Sonia Lyubomirsky's research at UC Riverside shows that rumination predicts prolonged distress after loss, while simple remembering doesn't. The goal isn't to never think of your ex again. It's to think of them without getting trapped in the thought. The stories we tell ourselves about our breakups matter immensely. I'll never find love again creates a different neural landscape than this relationship taught me what matters to me. Narrative therapy research from Michael White's Center shows that revising our stories, not to deny pain, but to include growth, learning, and agency, changes how memories affect us. You get to be the author of what this chapter means, even if you didn't choose how it ended. What if you hit that like button if this perspective resonates with you? It genuinely helps these videos reach others who might need them. Finally, there's something to be said for the beauty of human attachment itself. The fact that you can't stop thinking about your ex isn't a flaw, it's evidence of your capacity for deep connection. Your brain formed powerful bonds because you're wired for relationship. That wiring doesn't disappear when one relationship ends. It waits, ready for new connections. Louis Cozzolino's Neuroscience of Human Relationships reminds us that our brains are social organs designed to connect. The ache you feel isn't pathology, it's your humanity speaking. And hey, before you go, there's a 3D game called Inner Phoenix where you can explore these ideas in a gentle, visual way. You walk through it like a quiet temple, with rooms for what you're observing, what you're feeling, what you need, and what you might try next. It was made for exactly these moments of reflection and gentle redirection. No pressure. It's in the description below whenever you're ready. Just scan the QR code to visit. And if you found this helpful, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. Every new viewer who finds this content creates ripples that help others facing similar struggles.